All right, good morning, guys. How is everyone doing? I hope you guys had a great weekend. So, right, we are back on euro dollar. Let's update ourselves on what's happening and what we talked in the last week's breakdown. Starting with the monthly time frame here on euro dollar chart, let's mark the most crucial parts that we talked about in the previous breakdown, in the previous analysis. So here, I think you guys remember that we have this bearish fair value gap that's been retested 4 times already. Price noticed that with this close, with this October candle right here, with this monthly candle, it left this BPR now that we talked about right here. Now, does it mean that price will be sent right away from this BPR towards the sell side liquidity? Absolutely not. Remember that we are still consolidating. We are still inside of this range. We have liquidity on both sides right here. And the last thing that we really want to do as day traders, scalp traders especially, is be guessing what is going to happen on a monthly, weekly time frame, because price can just keep on consolidating right here. Because remember, we have elections this week. So I wouldn't be surprised if you would see some fireworks from the market. There should be at least some reaction to it. So that's that. Now regarding this order block that we talked about right here, one thing that I want you to pay attention to when we draw from the open right here, and then we measure the mean threshold, notice that bodies and the whole volume stayed above and stayed inside of this price literally just spiked into the open and mean threshold inside of this zone right here and reacted to the upside. Now, this doesn't mean that we are back on the bullish side again. It doesn't mean that. From a monthly perspective, we simply don't have a side. They have liquidity pools from both sides right here. And price can mess around as long as it wants, and it will eventually choose a direction and take out one side. From this point, ideally, as we talked about, as price already ran some buy-side liquidity here, it's reacted to this bearish fair value gap for the fourth time already right here. It would be pretty great to see price just drop toward the sell-side liquidity here, enter this bullish fair value gap, and then start climbing towards the buy-side liquidity right here. Because here, from a weekly perspective, we would have this market maker buy model right here, this bigger, higher time frame buy model. But again, we don't need to plan too much into the future. Again, this is monthly time frame, and it really doesn't matter a lot on what's going to take place right here because we are not looking for 1,000 tick moves and stuff like that. So I want you to pay attention to that price is actually reacting right now to this bullish order block right here, which is more of a propulsion block. Is definitely not a high probability type of PDA to pay attention to, but we still have it in front of us. So you don't want to ignore these type of parts. Again, as mentioned before, it would be great to see price to keep on dropping lower, melting towards this low resistance sell side liquidity first, because as you can see that we have this round price action right here. And then of course this fake low because it stopped right above this monthly bullish fair value gap. Now, if we drop to a 2-week time frame, one thing that I want you to pay attention to, notice how the price was moving here. If we correct all of these lows, what we have ourselves is literally a trend line. And notice that price now reacted to this trend line once again. So what price usually does, I think you guys know that price very rarely keeps on respecting such a trend line. In most cases, it gives one reaction, then it consolidates, let's say it runs away. But after that, it literally, when it comes into this area EM, it shows that it's trading away, but it's only usually just trapping traders, trapping longs before it eventually just drops lower, taking out all the sell side liquidity here, 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 and here. Remember that we have quite a lot of magnet areas. From a higher time frame perspective, they already took out some buy-side liquidity into opposing PD array right here. We have all of this trend line liquidity from 2-week and 1-week point of view. So again, everything is pretty much aligning for price to actually give one more drop to the downside into this bullish monthly fair value gap right here. So another drop to 1-week time frame. This is monthly BPR. Now, one thing that we talked about last week was this fair value gap here on the weekly time frame. And you can see that price reacted off of it right away, but now it's not really a good sign that it's pushing back towards the high from this week. Ideally, it would have been great if price would have just kept on running right away from this point, rejecting this bearish fair value gap, because here notice that, of course, we ran the sell side liquidity here, and now price is reacting to the upside. But inside of this range here, we have quite a lot of opposing PD arrays to send price lower, taking out this trend line liquidity and all of these low resistance lows right here. So right away, if we see bearish price action take place around Tuesday or Wednesday, we could be aiming for a high of the week to form, and ideally our eyes will be on these lows right here as a potential original consolidation for a lower time frame life of a sell model to take place right here. But for now, it's not worth guessing how much price is going to climb higher. So let's not play any guessing games, as again, we are inside of this bigger consolidation right here. On the monthly time frame, we have buy side liquidity resting right here. We have sell side liquidity resting right here. Even though price been climbing to the upside, forming these higher lows, we have thumbs up sell side liquidity below these lows because these are low resistance structures. And this whole structure combined is a low resistance structure right here. So now as price took out this low and left monthly BPR, the chances of it continuing dropping lower, especially as we have this trend line right here, are simply increasing more and more. So that's that what comes to the weekly time frame. Let's now quickly jump to the daily time frame. So now from a daily time frame point of view, notice that price started climbing higher. It reacted to this weekly bearish fair value gap here on Friday, but it pushed right back into this bullish fair value gap here. Clearly rejected it here and started pushing back higher into the weekly bearish fair value gap. So overall, right now, as pretty much always on Mondays, we are just stuck, not having clear sight, not having clear direction and stuff like that. So this is, of course, absolutely not surprising. We are simply inside of these two higher time frame PD rays. Again, if we talk about ideal developments, it would be great for price to take out this Friday's high right here and top out during Wednesday or Tuesday, form a high of the week. From there, we would start looking for a market maker sell model to take place right here, pushing towards this sell side liquidity pool, acting as original consolidation for us. The next level and the next sell side liquidity pool that we would target would be, of course, this consolidation right here. So after that, once price takes out the sell side liquidity, we wouldn't be surprised to see some bear trap or something to take place right here. And off we go again to this sell side liquidity pool that's resting right below. So we could get even more sell models right here inside of this development and inside of this order flow on the daily time frame. But for now, it's early to tell. For now, we must pay attention to how price acts inside of this weekly fair value gap. If we see a major break to the upside, of course, from there, our eyes will go to this big PR here. But overall, noting how much sell-side liquidity we have resting below, all the low resistance structures, the bullish trend line liquidity that I showed you on the 2-week time frame, and much more. So obviously, it's not natural for price to be trading away from such consolidations and stuff like that. This is why it would be ideal for price to eventually top out and start pushing towards all of these sell-side liquidity pools and that fake low on the monthly time frame that you talked about that stopped right above the monthly bullish fair value gap. And once price drops into it, we will start looking for potential longs from there. As I always mention, we are not swing traders, we are day traders, scalp traders, so we will adjust no matter what, even if price starts climbing to the upside. If inside of this leg, zooming into the lower timeframes, execution timeframes, we will see 31st lesson type of opportunities, 31st lesson type of strong lows taking place. This is, of course, when we will adjust to the development and we will follow these strong lows, these strong structures, to short-term buy-side liquidity pools on the lower timeframes towards the higher timeframe PD race. Next area from the daily timeframe point of view being this fair value gap low right here. So that's that. I think everything should be pretty clear what comes to the higher timeframes. Let me delete all of these drawings here. Let's now drop to the lower timeframes. All right, so from the flower point of view, I think you guys can pretty clearly see how price is slightly building to the upside right here. Notice that after it formed this low right here, it took out the sell side liquidity and it seeked for buy side liquidity right here. Then what we had was this tiny bullish fair value gap here. Price rejected it, left this bullish order block right here. It went higher, reached into the weekly bearish fair value gap. It started consolidating, built a lot of sell-side liquidity here, buy-side liquidity here. It took out the buy-side liquidity, then went for the sell-side liquidity. In other words, it formed a very clear bear trap. It ran right into the daily bullish fair value gap that we have here, this green rectangle. And from the flower point of view, we had this bullish order block right here resting above. So from the lower time frame point of view, we have this strong low in place right here that we don't want to ignore. Price builds liquidity, take out the buy side, sell side into bullish P rays, and we have daily time frame P ray overlapping with the lower time frame P ray. This daily time frame bullish fair value gap overlapping this 4-hour bullish order block. After running the sell side liquidity here, price reacted off of this bullish area very sharply, and now it's pushing towards the Friday's buy side liquidity right here. So again, from the lower time frame point of view, we are still building to the upside. I wouldn't be surprised if you get this retracement, one more push to the upside, and this is where ideally we will start looking for Tuesday or Wednesday to form a high of the week. If price keeps on pushing in this fashion, forming these strong 31st lesson structures, this is then of course our eyes will stay on this BPR right here and it will start pushing towards this BPR. And I'm mainly talking the low of it as the main magnet area right here. All right, so here we are on the 1-hour time frame. So I think the whole picture is getting even more clear because we have all of these details right here that you can see. So first thing that you want to pay attention to is all of the isolation that took place, all of the sharp lows, the 31st lesson type of structures that you can see right here. Notice that price ran the sell side liquidity very sharply and exploded to the upside, taking out this high right here. So once it started pushing away, they immediately marked this low as a potential structure that could keep on pushing price away from it towards the buy side liquidity levels. And then after that, notice that price built some liquidity right here. It took out the buy side, took out the sell side. In other words, we had a liquidity shakeout right here. It ran right into opposing P rays. We had this inverse fair value gap. And they had that tiny bullish fair value gap on the floor time frame aligning right here as well. And after that, again, price left a strong low, running sell side liquidity into opposing P rays, and it took off to the upside, taking out buy side liquidity out this shakeout again. After that, notice what happens one more time. Price starts building liquidity. It takes out the buy side right here. It takes out the sell side into opposing P rays. And it shoots to the upside once more. So I think you guys can see how many sharp, strong lows we have here right now. We have 3 lower time frames, strong, sharp lows, 31st lesson type of lows right here, pushing price away from the bearish liquidity. So in other words, the whole vision that we talked about on the daily time frame, weekly time frame, etc., is at the moment not aligning at all, because from the higher time frames we were seeing a bearish vision, but from the lower time frames we have this very clear bullish order flow, this very clear bullish delivery, which is coming in a form of a sharp bullish order flow right here. Price leaving sharp lows, running liquidity into opposing P rays and reacting to the upside really fast. So this is the point right now. Everyone to pay attention to all of the overlapping bullish P rays to potentially look for price after running Asia range lows to start building potentially to the Friday's highs right here. And they could even leave some run towards the daily fair value gap low right here. So in other words, we could see a quick market maker buy model type of a play right here, a quick market maker model on the 15 minutes, but more visible on the execution timeframes. So what we must pay attention to right now, what comes to sell side liquidity, we have this Asia range low, but looking deeper, we have this busy candle, this buy side imbalance, sell side inefficiency. When we look left, we have this bearish fair value gap, we have these 2 points overlapping. So what we have for ourselves right here is a BPR. So we mark that. Remember that this bearish rectangle here, this bearish zone, is a weekly fair value gap. So let's say we can simply get rid of it to have a clearer view and a bit more clean vision right here. So let's mark this as 1 hour VPR. So this is the ideal vision for us right now. Steep rise, melt lower, forming a sell side of the core, run some sell side liquidity here on the lower time frame, some execution time frames, bottom out, ideally rejecting all of these bullish P rays right here. If we look left, we have even more imbalance aligning here as well. We have this bullish fair value gap. Then if we look left even more, we have this fair value gap aligning here as well. I think if you guys remember, now I mentioned that when we have tons of imbalance points aligning inside of one area, usually that point is pretty strong. And we have one more right here. So obviously we don't need to have all of these zones marked for ourselves and stuff like that. It is simply something that you want to pay attention to These are not very strong areas or anything like that, just a point where we have a lot of imbalance overlapping. We have this bearish fair value gap, this bullish fair value gap, this bullish fair value gap, and everything's aligning inside of this area around of this buy side imbalance, sell side inefficiency, and this BPR here. So simply we built a pretty strong case, pretty strong zone for ourselves to look forward to. But again, why all of these fair value gaps are not very strong areas? Simply because price didn't show many rejections. They have one reaction right here off of this bearish fair value gap. Once price broke it, we have a bullish reaction, but after that, we didn't see much, especially what comes to this bullish fair value gap and this bullish fair value gap. So that's that. No need to get into this topic right now. What we ideally will be looking for, again, this for a continuation higher, taking out Friday's buy side liquidity. And once we trade above this area right here, this is when we will start looking for potential high of the week to form during either Tuesday or Wednesday. Looking for price to turn this whole thing into a potential bigger type of a sell model right here. So what we are doing here, we are simply looking to catch a quick buy model fractal while trading in the buy side of the core of this potential upcoming bigger sell model that is going to take place right here. And from that point, of course, our eyes and my attention will go to the sell side of the curve, trading towards this bigger original consolidation one here. So that is all. We touched on a lot of points. We covered the whole top-down vision here. As it's a Monday morning, there's no point digging into the 15-minute time frame and execution time frames. I hope it was insightful, and of course, we will talk a bit later. Take care, guys. Have a great day.